Hi, I'm Mark Coburn. Welcome to the Photographer Academy, and today I'm joined once again by Chris Whittle, the president of Elinchrom, and we're going to be talking about your brand new baby, not your grandchildren. What have we got to show us today, Chris?
Well, what I brought along today is the new ELC Pro HD 500, and on the table we've got the ELC Pro HD 1000.
How does this differ from the other models on the market today?
It is actually a completely different unit inside. The reason why it took us basically 4 years to develop this unit is because there are 3 new platform technologies in it. The first is a brand new charge circuit, which is very fast, very powerful, and again works completely differently from anything else we've ever had before. The second is a new capacitor management system, which gives us spectacular flash durations and very accurate color temperatures. And the third is the control side of the whole head via a new OLED display, which again makes using the unit a piece of cake.
So, but it all works still with the kind of the BXs and the Quadras and everything else. It's still all a part of the family, even though it's just a new kind of insides to it. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the most important thing is that the accessory fit on the front is identical. But the beauty about the Elinchrom system is that it is a complete system. So the D-Light range, D-Light 1, 2 and 4 are all designed to work together. All the controls, all the functionality is identical. Above that, the BRX 250-500. Again, those 2 units work the same and are completely compatible with the D-Light, so it's a logical stepping up for people as they're developing their photography. And then the ELC Pro HD, which is now the top of the range, replacing the RX. And that just sets a new standard in almost every respect.
It's got a very, very fast flash duration as well, hasn't it?
It does. I mean, the thing that's interesting about flash units is that because we always have the full flash curve, which gives us very good color, as you increase the power of the unit, traditionally it was very difficult to get short flash durations at low power, because the more you turned the power down, the longer the flash duration became. So it was very short at full power, ideal, for example, out on location where you're competing with the sun, where you want your best flash duration at high power. But as you reduced the power, even though there were clever things we could do to minimize the effect, the flash duration became longer. And that was the reason why, for example, with a 600RX head, if you use it at minimum power, you would find the flash duration would be no better at minimum power than many of our competitors, where at the full power it was very much better than most of our competitors. With this unit, it is, in effect, I mean, if we talk about the 1000 head, which is on the table, the 1000 head offers no disadvantages at all over the 500 head at any power level, because inside that 1000 head is a 500 head. Inside the 500 head is a 250 head. Inside the 250 head is a 125 head. And we manage the capacitors in order to give the best characteristics, the best flash durations at all power levels, and the best color management.
So you're saying the 1000 head, I can literally ramp down in power to shoot like it's a 100 or 100.
You can go down to 8 watt seconds and still have a flash duration that's better.
Because I think that's one of the biggest problems that I hear from photographers, is actually knowing where to start and what to buy into, especially when it's their first real flash equipment. Because obviously if you're a 2.8 or f4 photographer, you often struggle when you're buying the 500 heads and things, really, because you can't get them down low enough and things. So what we're saying here is that you can actually boost it right up to its full maximum and actually bring it down to the full minimum. Absolutely.
Wow. I mean, we always said, because Skyport draws the whole system together, that the way to get the best value, the best usage out of the Elinchrom system is to buy approximately the power you need for the application that you have. So for your main light, you may use a digital 1200 RX power pack. For a very small detail light, you might have chosen to use, for example, a 300 RX compact, or maybe even a D-Light RX1. Remember, the D-Light RX1 is still a professional unit, even though it's at an entry-level price. With this unit, and of course we would draw the threads, all the threads together with Skyport, so Skyport controlled everything. This unit still has Skyport in it, but it offers the performance that's better than the D-Light RX1 at the low power level, and performance that's better than the digital RX 1200 power pack at the high level.
Wow. So ELC, Elinchrom compact?
Exactly.
That's a good guess, isn't it? Makes a first for me. Who's it aimed at though? A pro level, entry level pro? who fits this kit now?
Because this unit offers spectacular performance at low power as well as high power, it's actually aimed at everybody. It is quite expensive technology. A 2-head kit,
yep.
It would all fit in this case here, is around £1,500. The single head, the 500 head which we've got here, is going to run from about £700.
What's in a kit?
The kit includes 2 heads, 2 16cm reflectors. The heads have domes on them. There's a Skyport transmitter in there, the bag, of course, and the stands and the stand bag.
Cool. I believe there's a range of different kits.
Yeah, there are 3 kits. Obviously, we've got 2 heads, the 500 and the 1000. You can have a 500-500 kit, a 500-1000 kit, or a 1000-1000 kit.
Brilliant. Okay, we talked about the core technology. There's 3 kind of things that you're on about. Can you just really get into depth a little bit more about that, kind of step by step? So, colour temperature, let's start there. What's the real change here?
I mean, that's an excellent question. As I mentioned earlier, the 1000 head, which is the most powerful of the 2, effectively has got multiple heads inside it, by which I mean we've got multiple capacitor banks inside. And what we do is we intelligently manage the capacitor banks in order to give us the optimum flash duration and colour temperature. The colour temperature never varies by more than 150 degrees Kelvin. So that's plus or minus 150 degrees Kelvin, wherever you are in the power range. So on the 1000 head, you could be at 8 watt seconds at the minimum power, 1000 watt seconds at maximum power. And if you're mixing heads, the colour temperature is going to be spot on, which obviously is going to save you a lot of time in terms of retouching and general colour management in post-production. Yeah. The other thing is that we want customers, we want photographers to know what the flash durations are. So on the back of the head, when we look at it later, you'll see that we have the power level in Elinchrom terms, but we also show the actual flash duration at that power level.
Okay. What else as far as the core is concerned?
Insofar as some of the special effects, which we'll talk about later, and I'll mention them briefly now. We've got the stroboscopic effect, which is the number of exposures that you've got within one frame. Mm-hmm. You've got the sequence effect, which is the capacity to use a number of heads in sequence to give you whatever power you want, working with one flash, one frame, with a motor drive of any speed. It sounds a bold claim, but you'll see how it works. And the third thing is that we have a delay flash mode where you can combine the effect of the modelling lamp or ambient light with a flash to give the effect of second curtain sync. But you can also have that synchronization at any stage during the exposure. Now, the important thing, particularly with the strobe mode, is that you have to have a very, very powerful charge circuit. Because if we're maybe trying to shoot at 5 frames a second with maybe 100 watt seconds, and you can do that, then you've got to have a very powerful charge circuit. The other thing about the charge circuit is it's designed to give a very, very smooth current draw. So you don't have to have a very high capacity ring main in order to power 3 or 4 of these heads, because the current drawn is smoothed over the whole of the charge cycle. It sounds quite complicated, but the bottom line for the photographer is he can use these heads anywhere, and even on location with inverters and that kind of thing. Brilliant.
I think we should get into the back of the menu, because the menu looks a little bit different than what we've kind of seen throughout the Elinchrom kind of heads before, isn't it?
It's very different. And again, you see from the features that I mentioned that it needs to be different. It needs to give a much clearer understanding of what's actually happening.
So can you show us around the new menu system?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's look at the controls. Everything is on the back. Let's turn the unit on with the top left-hand button. The display comes on and it shows you all of the functions within the unit itself. You can see that I've got here radio, all the radio settings. I've got the slave cell setting. I've got turn on recycle. I've got the power with the flash durations, which we were talking about. That's in watt seconds. I've also got the power in the Elinchrom format here in tenths of a stop. I've got the recycling time here, and it's set to fast. In this particular position of the menu, I've got -1 or +1 in stop, so I can adjust the power up 1 stop, down 1 stop, adjust it in tenths of a stop. Test, I can fire the test fire a test flash here. And of course, with my SkyPort, I could fire all the special functions, which we'll have a look at in a minute. I've got a menu button here, and that takes me back. I've got a preset button there. And let's just look at the preset. I've got a choice of 1, 2, 3, or 4 presets. I can save an existing setting to a preset. I can load a preset into the existing settings, and I can come out of the menu here. On the right-hand side at the bottom, under the modeling lamp, I've got modeling lamp control. So I toggle through off, free, and free is controlled here. Proportional, well, proportion is proportional to the flash. And I've also got a couple of modeling lamp functions here to use as and when I'm ready. Within the menu, again back to there, it says main menu. I've got the options of everything to do with photocell, everything to do with SkyPort, everything to do with audio, everything to do with flash mode, which will enable me to find the strobo functions, the delayed flash function and the sequence function, and everything to do with power settings, that's slow recycle, fast recycle, default recycle, plus auto off and various other things when you get there. At the very bottom, statistics. This is quite interesting. If I select statistics, it gives me the lifetime of this particular unit, the amount of time it's been turned on, how many times it's been turned on, and it also will tell me how many exposures the flash tube has done and how many exposures I've done within this job itself. If I just go back through the menus, I can come back one step at a time. Or, if I want to do, I can select any menu and go deep into it and then come all the way out, right back to the beginning. One last thing that's very useful, if I want to put the unit into standby mode, I simply press and the button very briefly, it goes into standby and you get the beating red heart of the standby button. Press it again and it turns itself back on. If I want to turn it off, I simply press and hold for 2 seconds the on-off button, and you get that lovely little dot that disappears, almost as like an old black and white television that brings us back to reality. So we've got the unit turned off. Let's start from scratch and let's paint 3 scenarios. Turn the unit on. I've got a dancer in the studio. I want to get 5 exposures within a frame which is going to be open for 1 second. In that 1 second, the dancer will move from the left-hand side of the frame to the right-hand side of the frame, and I want to get 5 images to show the movement. The unit is set to fast recycle here, which is what I would want it to be set on. I go to the flash mode here. I set strobo, go to strobo setup, frequency, I wanted 5 hertz, 5 flashes in the second. I select it. Duration, I want this just to take place for 1 second. So let's reduce this to 1 second here and come out of the menu. It tells me that I've got 11 watt seconds, strobo, 1 second at 5 hertz, and I would use a SkyPort trigger to fire it because all the special modes are triggered from the SkyPort. If I press the test button here, it only tests the unit. If I press the button on the SkyPort, it fires the unit. Now, of course, 11 watt seconds is really not enough power. So let's just build the power. 43 watt seconds. Oh, let's go another stop. 3.7, 86 watt seconds. Incidentally, the flash duration on each flash here is 1/2780th of a second. Let's see if it will do another stop. I'm not sure if it will. Oops, it won't. But notice what happens. It gives me a buzzer and the red light to warn me that whilst it's given the exposure, whilst it's flashed, it's given me the flash, that flash will not have been the correct exposure. All I have to do in that situation is turn the power down a little bit. Let's try 131 watt seconds. 131 watt seconds, 5 frames a second, perfect color, perfect exposure each time. Okay, in scenario 2, let's see what it would do with the motor drive. What we're going to do is take it off the strobo mode. Just go back up to default here. bring ourselves out. We'll reduce the power just a little bit. So we'll go down to 33 watt seconds. Let's see what it'll do. Now that's given you a single flash for every frame. Scenario 3, we're working on location. We want to slow down the recycle time to work with an inverter. So we go to power settings, we go to recycling time, we select slow, we come out, ready to go. We've just looked at 3 scenarios. There are, of course, thousands. As soon as you start playing around, you'll find out just how easy the unit is to use.
I can't believe how quiet they are. These new fans, obviously in the world of photography, it's stills and video nowadays, and the fan hardly makes any hum. It's amazing.
Well, when it's working very, very hard in flash mode, the fan obviously does come on in a much more powerful sense. But again, microprocessor control enables us to do all sorts of things. The fan is linked to temperature sensors, a variety of temperature sensors within the unit itself, and clearly, when we don't need the fan to be on very high, we can keep it at a low level. But to be honest, one of the things we've done is we've actually managed the fan so that it comes on earlier but stays at a lower level for longer. So it does mean that you can use quite enclosed accessories with reasonably high power modelling lamps without the fan kicking in an audible way.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, the video guys already are saying, "Oh my God, is it on?" They didn't
Yeah.
hear it, so it's a good sign.
Yeah.
Okay, on the modelling bulb front, you've obviously put the glass dome on the front. Why?
Yeah, it's going to be a safety issue. The quartz halogen modelling lamps do have to be used with the correct fuse. The reason for that is that if any quartz halogen modelling lamp fails, the filament can collapse into the 2 pins, and unless the fuse blows very quickly, it has the potential to explode. Now, because we always use the right fuses, we've never blown up any modelling lamps, but it is a safety issue now that flash units will have to have glass domes. One of the things that's most interesting about this head is that, number one, the glass dome comes with the unit, so it's part of the price of the unit. But the second thing is that there is a new design of glass dome which makes it very, very easy to both remove the dome and put it back on again.
I noticed that when we were actually putting the modelling bulbs on earlier today, very, very quick to actually use. Chris, anything else that we should touch on before we finish?
I think there are a few really obvious things about the head. The handle at the back makes it very, very easy to get hold of it. You'll notice that the 500 head and the 1000 head are the same size. In terms of weights, the 500 head weighs 2.3 kilos, which is actually the same as the 300 RX head used to weigh. The 1000 head weighs 2.6 kilos, where the old 1200 RX was 3.25 kilos. So it's quite a substantial weight saving over the previous units, even though when you actually handle the heads, they feel much more robust. By which I mean the polymer casing is so thick, it has that solid feel about it.
What's the benefit of updating the software and the firmware within the head itself?
Well, because Skyport is built in, all the units now have Skyport built in. We can use Skyport to update firmware. It does mean that there will be new features and some clever features which will be programmable as we bring these on stream. But the most important thing about the firmware, as you saw from the OLED display and the information that we provide, is the amount of control that it gives us. It really is quite phenomenal.
So, Chris, I can see the name is the ELC Pro HD. What's the kind of the name mean?
Well, ELC obviously is Elinchrom Compact, and in fact, Elinchrom are going to start naming all of their units with this kind of nomenclature, ELC, so there will be other ELC compacts in the future, ELB, EL battery. Pro HD is the top of the Elinchrom compact range. Pro, professional, HD, heavy duty.
Ah, HD.
Yeah.
Not like my television then.
Well, you could argue that it's high definition as well, because one of the things that we have done is give them super short flash durations, which means you're going to make the best of the sharpness of your lenses and your camera chip.
Brilliant. Chris, thanks very much. He's so technical, it's unbelievable. The amount of work you guys actually do at Elinchrom to actually fit so much kind of kit into that little unit is unbelievable. And it's great to see that the world of flash is changing pretty much all the time, and we're just not fixed with units that were designed 5-10 years ago and things really. So technically this is a new baby. This is the birth of a new style of flash for us.
It is. I mean, let's take for granted the basics. The very short recycling times, the fantastic flash durations, the wonderful color temperature control. Our ambition is to enable photographers to do more. In that way, what we want photographers to do is get the day job done quicker, so that some of the extra features on here, the stroboscopic and second curtain sync and sequence type effects, can then be an add-on to the day job and a bit of playing around really. Everybody wants to be different. It's a kind of, these features are Photoshop type features where you don't have to use them, but they're there if you need them. But the basics of this unit are fantastic.
Brilliant. Chris, thanks very much for the insight into the Elinchrom ELC Pro HD. It's been an amazing time once more. I'm going off to play. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark.